Hi, everybody. My name is Anya Quiroz, and I am the engagement coordinator for the Central Arizona Conservation Alliance, or CASC as we call it, which is an initiative of the Desert Botanical Garden. For this presentation, we're going to be taking a look at the Sonoran Insiders, which is our ambassador program, one of the key initiatives that CASCA manages and co-facilitates. And really, this program focuses on leveraging social media for the good of natural open spaces in Arizona. This program and this project really sits well and supports the Regional Open Space Strategy Goal 3, which is love and support. I also want to make a note of some of the great folks down here that we work with for this project: Rebecca Davidson, R. Scott Jones, and Brooke Wheelock. And we'll briefly talk more about them and the organizations that are collaborating with us for this great initiative. Before I go into the program itself, I do want to talk about the motivation or the impetus for this whole project that we're doing. In 2019, we saw the beautiful super bloom that California had, and really not only was it making the headlines because of how beautiful this was and the opportunity that folks had to go out and enjoy the super bloom, but also because of the negative behavior that we started seeing on social media because of it. You know, the picture on the right displays a really good example of what was happening. And of course, you know, during those first couple of days, everything looked beautiful, but as the weeks progressed, you really started seeing the damaging effect that coveted picture of either you picking the wildflowers or you laying among them started having on the natural resource and the park itself, of course. And so this negative behavior amongst influencers, and really the name says it all, starts spreading, and it really does create a very negative impact on our open spaces in our national forest. And this behavior can be seen in many different ways. It doesn't necessarily happen during a super bloom year. This happens all the time. This negative behavior is displayed in different ways as well, such as taking selfies with wildlife, or taking that picture of you tagging something, and even in the instances of really popular locations such as Horseshoe Bend or the Wave, where it really has created more negative impacts than positive, and it has become this challenge that our land managers are seeing. So taking a look at this, we thought there is this negative side to social media, but there are so many other people out there who really do care about the environment. And perhaps this challenge also presents an opportunity for us to work with some of these folks to try to change this narrative a little bit. And so we briefly want to talk about conservation reach versus influencer reach. So seeing here just a snippet again of some of the outdoor influencer accounts versus some of the conservation focused Instagram accounts, you really see the disparity that starts to form with the amount of followers that these different accounts tend to have. We're talking about millions and hundreds of thousands of followers in some cases as well. And so I do want to make a point that these are just outdoor influencer accounts. There is a whole host of different influencers, from fashion, art to all what have you. There are so many different topics in which influencers can focus on and choose their niche to be. So we really are talking about millions of people that are reached versus the perhaps less amount that conservation accounts can reach as well. So there is that disparity that happens, and there again potential opportunity, but it is that challenge of there's just so many people that the influencers are having access to and engaging with. So we just wanted to make a point of saying that there is that big gap in the amount of people that influencers versus the more conservation focused accounts have, which again, for us, presented this opportunity and perhaps a gap in which we can work with. And so we just wanted to pay a little bit more attention to the good practices that are being shared by some of the social media accounts, which again is really who we want to work with. There's many different outdoor enthusiasts and people that have a relatively higher number of followers that are really passionate about the outdoors and that really do display that good, responsible recreation behaviors and practices. And these are the kinds of people that we want to work with. And these are the folks that we think should be elevated, and that we could potentially work with to really elevate those conservation challenges, to raise awareness and to educate other people as to what responsible recreation is, what leave no trace is, etc. So a little bit more about the program. The goals of the ambassador program is to really bridge that gap that happens between industries, land managers, and even, the researchers that are doing the work or that are aware of what those challenges are, what those big priorities are, and collaborate with local digital influencers for conservation. This program will develop an ongoing ambassador effort that really leverages the influencers' audiences for the protection, conservation, and responsible use of natural spaces and national forests here in Arizona. So again, really working to create that community, that space online where we can work with the different influencers that live here locally in the state to raise awareness on these issues and help us move forward responsible use and those best practices that we really want to see outdoor recreationists use. And I do want to make a brief note here, thinking about COVID and how this has impacted recreation. We are seeing so many new hikers and new recreationists go out into our open spaces. This is a really good time to capitalize and on this opportunity to push even more education out there and ensure that these new recreationists are aware of what leave no trace is, of what responsible recreation is. So again, this program really aims to be a platform for further education. And like with most of the programs at Casca, collaboration is absolutely key. This would just not be possible without the great folks that you see here. So briefly mention them at the beginning: Brooke Wheelock with the U.S. Forest Service, and specifically the Tonto National Forest, R. Scott Jones with Arizona Conservation Partners, and Rebecca Davidson with the National Forest Foundation. This program would just not be possible without them. Everything from logistics to finding speakers to just overall support. We are really grateful to be working with them in this program. And we really do see this being a model and for not only here in the region, but moving forward even nationally with some of these partners. So we're really excited and really grateful to be working with them. So a little bit about how we recruited our ambassadors and how this program got started. We came together with our partners and really developed a list and started doing some research on Instagram, which is our platform of choice for this first year, and started looking at, what are the voices out there? Who is sharing good quality content? What are some of those potential ambassadors? And so we weren't only concerned with our ambassadors having a larger number of followers, we also wanted them to be sharing good quality content. We wanted to find those people that were already invested in the outdoors, that were already invested in having some educational content on their account, sharing those responsible practices, and we're aware of things like leave no trace, and really passionate about the value of this really unique state that we live in. And so we started with a list of ambassadors, and we narrowed it down to 5 that were interested, and we invited them. And we narrowed it down to a list of 5 that were interested in helping us kickstart this program in late 2019. And so in terms of, what are the benefits for the ambassadors themselves? So obviously the insider status, they are pretty much, have that direct communication with land managers, with the organizations that are really involved in protecting our open spaces. So they have that sort of inside look as to what's coming up. What are those challenges that we need help with? What is the opportunities to get involved? They have that sort of in the know insider status. So that was one of the first things. That second thing are our experiences. they're provided exclusive events, tours, and workshops to get even more involved. We partner with local land managers, nonprofits, other agencies to provide our ambassadors with unique experiences, with really special experiences that kind of go behind the scenes, and really give them that inside look as to how we do things and how we protect and manage these open spaces and these public lands. And so, of course, COVID changed this slightly, but we'll talk about that later in the presentation. But again, we did want them to continue having these unique experiences and talk even more with the folks that are kind of, behind the scenes, that are really taking care of these lands that they recreate on. And the third thing is swag. Everybody loves swag. So we do provide our ambassadors with swag and free items. And we are working to develop even more collaborations with businesses so that we can continue to provide them with some of these neat items. And last but not least is that ability to galvanize change. Again, when we were looking for our ambassadors, we really wanted to find folks that were passionate about the outdoors, that really wanted to put that best foot forward on social media. And so one of the opportunities for this is to really become that catalyst for change in our region. There are, especially again now in a time of COVID, the ability to reach new recreationists and people that are going out to the outdoors and nature, perhaps maybe for the first couple of times, there is that ability for us to really raise that baseline level of knowledge and raise awareness and educate on what are those good practices? How do we ensure we are recreating, having fun, and experiencing nature, but doing so in a way that ensures that this natural resource will be here in perpetuity. And so that's really one of the opportunities that our ambassadors have, is really creating a community that's focused on protecting and conserving these wonderful natural areas for future generations. And so here are some of the wonderful faces of our ambassadors, and we are working with they are truly wonderful people to work with, and they are really so passionate about what we're doing and about the outdoors. We wanted to just show a couple of their faces. And again, some of these were with us from the beginning, from event number 1, and some of these are ambassadors that we just recruited towards the end of last year. And so we're excited to be working with all of them. You can find all of them on our website, sonoraninsiders.com, but we did want to just briefly show a couple of them and show you, these are real people that are truly involved and are so passionate about the plants of the outdoors and photographing the outdoors and just experiencing nature in the most positive way. Taking a little look at the events that we did with our ambassadors. So our in-person events, just to go over some of the elements that we wanted to ensure that we included in each of one of the events. One was sort of an outdoor adventure feel. Most of our ambassadors, if not all of them, are recreationists themselves, and they really do appreciate the sense of adventure, the sense of learning new experiences and really having fun while they're doing it. So we wanted to ensure we included that. A behind the scenes feel to it, attended by experts. Going back to that, what are the benefits that our ambassadors get? We did want to have a behind the scenes look at all of our events to ensure that they were getting new information, that they were having a look at these different challenges, these different topics from a different angle than they might usually learn or come to learn if they were doing this on their own. So all of our events were attended by different experts, whether they were researchers, land managers themselves, or staff of these different nonprofit organizations that we collaborated with. And of course, that last thing, which is still going back to that education piece for this whole program, each of the events included some element of learning new things, of being introduced to a new topic, or going over some of these challenges and just educating our ambassadors on some of these important priorities for us, and included some volunteer element of it, whether opportunities to get more involved or the event itself was a volunteer opportunity. So just an example of some of the events that we did. The first event that we ever did was a True Blue restoration event, planting cottonwoods and doing some restoration treatments in a previously burned area. One of our other events was citizen science in the desert, community science in the desert, looking at the different research that the organization, the McDowell Sonoran Conservancy, is doing and what that actually looks like doing research in the desert. And last, one of our most recent events was actually invasive apple snail removal. a kayak and slash kayaking event that we did with our ambassadors in the Salt River, which was really a lot of fun, and they really did enjoy that. And now kind of on the flip side of things, due to COVID, we had to switch things and make things a little bit more virtual. So similarly to our in-person events, these are some of the elements that we wanted to ensure we kept including. Again, all of our digital events were also attended by experts. They continue to be learning opportunities for our ambassadors, introducing new topics, introducing them to different experts that perhaps, again, they could give them information that that wasn't accessible or isn't accessible if they were just by themselves. And then lastly, one of the things we wanted to continue to include is the sort of community building aspect to it. Because we weren't seeing each other in person, we thought it would be really important to just have time to chat and actually build that camaraderie and just check in on each other, given the year that the year that 2020 was. So some of the events that we did digitally included a responsible recreation and leave no trace workshop. Our ambassadors actually hosted a webinar for new hikers, new recreationists on leave no trace, on responsible recreation. And they just sort of did a hiking 101 webinar. What are some tricks and tips that they really recommend if you're a new hiker, if you're getting out into nature for some of the first times. We also did a justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion event, a JEDI event, and brought some researchers from ISU and really talked about what inclusion in the outdoors means and how we can all be advocates for that. And going to that community building aspect of things, we held some celebrations, some happy hours with all of them, and just, again, building that community feel and just checking in and having a space to chat and get to know each other. And so in relation to the events, we had these accompanying briefs that we would send to the ambassadors after each event was done. And this was sort of our attempt to continue the education portion of it and really try to summarize what the theme of the event was about, what we really want to get across to not only them, but their followers as well. You can see here on the right-hand side what the briefs look like, and very simple, very sort of appealing way for us to hit at those main points. You know, what were the goals of the event? What is that key message that we want to share? And what are ways in which the ambassadors can help, and what are ways in which their audiences can also help? How can they get involved? What's that next step? What's the call to action? And so the ambassadors thought these were very helpful. And of course, we thought that this was a very easy way, a very simple way for us to continue that piece and really ensure that we are continuing to communicate on those key priorities and those key actions that we really want to help share with the general public. And we just briefly wanted to show the Sonoran Insiders Instagram account and talk about that. Obviously, the ambassadors have their own Instagram accounts, but we do have an Instagram account for the program. And on this account, we mainly focus on reposting the different things that the ambassadors want to share. And that can range from things unrelated to events themselves, but just might be some cool observations that the ambassadors post, like you see here on the left-hand side with Veronica's post about the barrel cactus, or again, reposting about the events that they are all involved in, like Julie did here on the right-hand side. Again, same thing. The ambassador here, which was Sean, posted about the McDowell Sonoran Conservancy event that we co-hosted with our partners and with the McDowell Sonoran Conservancy, of course. And then on the right-hand side, we're just seeing some general LNT posts that we wanted to repost from Lisa's account. Now, taking a look at some of these big social media outcomes that we had over this first year, we had an annual reach of 5 million people, almost 6 million people, 5.9 million people, I'm sorry, almost 6 million people. The average monthly reach was about 900 or so more people each month, which was really fantastic. And again, this is the amount of times that people, this is the amount of times people actually saw that post. And, taking this with a grain of salt as well, sometimes people see these posts for just a couple of seconds, but we're really excited about what these numbers are showing. The Sonoran Insiders hashtag was used 311 times during this first year, accumulating a total of 57,509 likes. So taking a look at some of the metrics for this first year, The number of posts kind of seeing an upward trend, so we're excited about that. The highest month, which was December, we saw a total of 52 posts with the hashtag Sonoran Insiders. The second highest month was July, which we saw a total of 40 posts. And this was really a response to the wildfire season that we had. Our ambassadors, we shared some information about wildfire with them, the rate of the recovery of the Sonoran Desert, which can be really slow, how impacted our cacti species are. And they really took that and created their own educational content and posts about the wildfires, how they were impacted by it. And yeah, they really did see a lot of engagement during that month, as well as December, as we started gaining even more followers and really wrapping up the year with them after our year one celebration. And in terms of likes, again, the Sonoran Insider hashtag post received most likes in July, again, in that response to the bad wildfire season that we had. And we had about 11,692 posts, almost 11,700 likes on that month, with the second highest month being in December, which was around 8,300, 8,400 likes in that particular month. During the course of this year, we also did some surveys for our ambassadors, and this was some of the feedback that we got. We were very interested in seeing what they thought about the in-person versus the digital events, after we had to make that switch in response to having to go virtual. And we were very excited to see that our ambassadors did enjoy our digital events almost to the same degree that our in-person. Of course, it doesn't come close when you can actually see people and have adventures in the outdoors, but we were sort of relieved to see that they still thought that that engaging content, that educational piece and the fun of it was still there, and they were still getting something out of it. Part of that survey, we also wanted just to get general feedback on what the ambassadors thought of the program, the events. And as you can see here, the events really were enjoyed. We were seeing that the ambassadors were getting something new out of it, that they were learning things. And that was, again, one of the major priorities for us, was that each of these opportunities really did become an opportunity to learn about a challenge, to learn about a priority for us in conservation. Not only that, but they just had fun, and that there was a little bit of that sense of adventure of doing something new from that second comment. So we were excited to see that they were having fun. And just in general, we were glad to see that the ambassadors enjoyed the events and opportunities that we were provided for them. And so quick look at some of the themes in that survey that we sent to them. We also asked not only for their feedback for the past year, but also what are some of the things that they're looking forward to, what are some ideas that they have. And we came out with sort of two different themes that we did see. One was a greater understanding of the role Native American people play in protecting public lands, more of that historical and cultural significance of the Sonoran Desert to Indigenous people. And then that second theme that we saw was due to COVID, obviously in-person events would be appreciated, but in the meantime, opportunities to do things on their own while following the same theme. So self-guided hikes, for example, different opportunities like that we could provide. And these are definitely things that we're looking at in order to carry them out in this year. And lessons learned. So in wrapping these up, these are some of the primary lessons that we learned. One was gathering metrics. Believe it or not, it was actually a little bit more difficult, and you might think, not only keeping track of the Instagram metrics for the Sonoran Insiders Instagram account, but also keeping track of the hashtag and keeping track of the engagement that the posts that the Sonoran Insiders were using and sharing. And so we are definitely looking at different kinds of programs and software that we can use to help us more effectively keep track of some of these numbers, some of the reach and engagement that the ambassadors are having. And the second thing, which is actually, I think, we think even more important, is the ability to continue to create community with our ambassadors. Not only do we want to be more proactive and more in tune with their interests and activities, that way we are really, capitalizing on the passions that they have. We do think it's important to create sort of a space where we can have open communication with them, so that we can hear these ideas, so that we can hear these different needs that they have from the ambassadors themselves. So these are things that we're definitely learned throughout this year. And of course, COVID made it difficult, but we are looking for ways to incorporate some of these lessons. And so to that effect, you know, we are looking for a program and a software to help us track the engagement and reach of all of our combined social media content. We are looking to onboard a volunteer, if anybody's interested, who can support the creation of a more open and engaged digital community with the ambassadors, as well as helping us with logistics. And last but not least, also elevating the use of the website. You know, just due to time constraints for the team itself, we do want to look to using the website more and make it more of a hub, not only for the ambassadors, but also for the public, where people can find information about the program, events, more briefs, and the briefs of past events, and just other opportunities to engage. So those are things that we're definitely looking at as we move forward with the program. And that about wraps it up for the presentation on the Sonoran Insiders program. Thank you so much for listening.